Do not adjust your digital device. What you are about to see and hear may shock and appall you. Join our hosts as they encounter countless thrills, spills, chills, and hilarity as they explore the very weirdest in pop culture. The following media is so strange, so beyond the scope of what is normal, it will make you ask the question, why does this exist? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Why Does This Exist? I'm Chris.
And I'm Rob.
And I'm Shaun.
Today we are joined once again by Shaun. If you came to the first half of this, we're talking about Pokemon, but it would be very, very rude to try to sum this up in one part because there's just so much that's gone into Pokemon. So, what we are instead choosing to do is we are splitting this up into two halves. So, this is the second half of the Pokemon episode in honor of its 30th anniversary, which is insane. So, the first half of this, we spoke about the video games and we spoke about just the franchise as a whole and how it really took off to be what it is. And we also talked about the trading card game. So we stuck to the trading card games and the video games, as well as just discussing a lot about the franchise and its impact on us. Today we're going to get into the second half. So the second half of this episode, we're going to discuss the anime and the manga and really what kind of continued the original spirit of Pokemon too, which it started off as a magazine, which is really cool that you could buy at a Doshi store, which a Doshi store is just regular average person made stuff that is not made by a big corporation. It's like either small companies or just regular people, very small companies at that. And it's just a neat little thing. So basically, if you live in Portland, Oregon, and you find all of the metal fanzines and stuff like that in all of your record stores and coffee shops, that's basically what Satoshi Tajiri was doing. And the artist for that had done all of the original concept art for Pokemon, Ken Sugimori, and the name of the zine was Game Freak. Now, we will get back into that. I did skip over some things, but basically what we are is Why Does This Exist? We're a podcast that talks about weird stuff in pop culture. So it's either stuff like Pokemon or video games, or really anything like horror movies or music. We kind of run the gamut of stuff like that. And that's what we've been doing for the last couple of years. All of the links to all of the ways to give us money and support the show, they're all in the descriptions. If you like it, cool. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you would kindly subscribe to YouTube, we are trying to get to 500 so that way we can actually start making some money off of this thing. We make tiny little things thanks to people's donations and also just some revenue from Spreaker, which is maybe we get a cup of coffee every once in a while, but we'd like to actually take off a bit more. So if you want to sub to YouTube, it really costs you nothing. That'd be great. And that's the news. Here's the weather. You are now about to witness the true strength of street knowledge from a ragtag group of rogues. So let's get on with the goddamn show. Rob, continue where I left off when we were talking about the zines and everything like that, because I'm sure everyone's sick and tired of listening to me.
Well, so I think we talked about this on the first episode a little bit, that Pokemon kind of started out almost as like a fanzine. And it was based on the creator's interest in collecting bugs when he was growing up.
They called him Dr. Bug.
Yeah. So the main thing that really kind of drove the pop culture phenomenon that was Pokemon in America was when the anime came to America. because, you know, obviously back in those days, every new toy or big thing had to have a cartoon series attached to it
Yes,
because that's
and
just
this
the way things were in the
yes,
80s and 90s. But you know, obviously Pokemon was a little bit different because and we talked about this on the first episode too of like how much like it was beyond just like what a regular fad would be at those, you know, in those days. You know, we had so many fads come and go, but Pokemon like lasted. But
which I think is
the
interesting that Pokemon kind of came off the heels of it. This was just interesting timing. Is it kind of came off the heels of the Tamagotchi craze?
yeah.
So so
Kind of.
kids who were used to the Tamagotchi and bonded with the Tamagotchi had also kind of they see Pokemon and they see Ash and Pikachu and they're like, oh wait a minute, this is just like a better version of a Tamagotchi that won't die. Cool.
But the crazy thing was that was technically Digimon's first incarnation before Pokemon was even a thing.
Yes.
um but I think the big draw for it was a cartoon series that was based on a video game, but like it followed the video game almost exactly how you would play it in the game. So you could actually like, you know, play out the cartoon almost in the video game and obviously just do what you want and catch what Pokemon you want. You don't have to actually follow exactly. But
Right.
that was kind of different because they had obviously had cartoons that were based on video games previously. You had the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, Sonic the Hedgehog, Legend of Zelda had a cartoon. There was Captain N. There was a number of cartoons that were based on video games, but none of them really followed the video games particularly well. I mean,
Yeah,
you could argue the Super Mario Brothers Super Show kind of was pretty close, but you know, it wasn't like one for one. Whereas the
yeah,
Pokemon cartoon was pretty much almost one for one what the game is.
Well,
Um,
then when you eventually got to Yellow, then you really got
yes, especially when you get to
yeah,
Yellow, because
full
Yellow,
blown experience.
yeah, Yellow was even more closely followed the cartoons than the original than Red and Blue did because Yellow, first of all, you start out with Pikachu, which is what Ash starts out with in the
Right.
series because he
yeah,
wakes up late and he misses his chance to get a starter Pokemon, and basically Pikachu's all that's left. But also Yellow added Jesse and James as Team Rocket characters. So whereas in just Red and Blue, Team Rocket were kind of like just nameless like thugs, they actually put these recognizable characters from the cartoon series in the game for Yellow version. And again, that's just based on the popularity of how crazy the TV show was because
Right.
it was a phenomenon.
You couldn't
Um,
get away from that. And I mean, it was also the genius idea of 4Kids marketing department and Nintendo just having good communication together. So they decided it was either 4Kids or Nintendo of America's marketing person, whoever their like head of marketing was. When the Pokemon game came out in Japan, they were working on the anime and they just said, "Oh, well, we'll release the anime later." And the so I think it came out in Japan in 96. We talked about this on the last episode, but I want to just kind of reiterate that point is that Pokemon in Japan comes out in 96 and then the anime came out a bit later, but in the states when they knew that there was a video game, when they knew that there was an anime being worked on and it was just going to be a little while, the head of marketing just said, whoa, 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 hold up, slow the brakes. Let's, why don't we just release both things at the same time?
mhm.
Because then once kids see this show and they already bond with the character Pikachu and they understand what the concept is of Pokemon from watching the cartoon, they're going to want the game even more than if they just saw it on the shelf and just thought, "Oh, this looks cool. Mom, can you buy this for me?" Which was freaking genius.
Yeah.
Like sometimes this is proof that, good things come to those who wait. Because if they got it right away, I don't know if Pokemon would have been the phenomenon that it is because it definitely wasn't planned to be.
No,
I
well, I
think
mean,
that it
definitely the
was
cartoon tie-in really drove it home. And I remember,
I think for sure that if they didn't do that in America, it would not have taken off and been the thing that it is. It wouldn't have be the juggernaut. I think it'd still be very
it's
popular.
hard to
But
say.
I think it would still be very popular, but I don't know if it would be. I don't think that it would be at the level that it is now. I
Yeah.
think it would still be very popular, but I don't think it would be
Hmm.
one of the top 3 IPs in the world, if not
I
the number 1
remember
IP in the world.
I remember when Pokemon was announced, the cartoon, it was like crazy. And I remember waking up
Yeah.
every single morning and watching it because it was
Hmm.
on every morning, which again, that was a rare thing back in those days. When you had a cartoon series, generally the new episodes came out on Saturday mornings, and you had Saturday morning cartoons. Pokemon, because it had already been out in Japan for like 6 months before, was the Japanese version was ahead of where we were in America, so they could take a huge chunk of episodes and translate them all and then bring them to America and release them every day. And so they were
Yeah.
on every single day before school. 7 a.m. Pokemon was on every day. And I remember getting up to watch it every single day, every episode of Pokemon. Plus they had the Pokemon rap. So
Yes.
it helps you memorize all the Pokemon name. Like it was really
It
a
was
genius marketing strategy.
Yeah, I had
Yep.
never I don't think we'll ever see anything that is handled with that much care ever again.
No,
Hmm.
Especially in today's world where they just rush it out as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I mean it also kind of helped too that if you were stuck in the video game, you could watch the TV show and see what happens in the TV show to kind of give you a hint of what to do in the video game.
Yeah, that's
Except
true
it,
too.
except it didn't really follow like the actual plot of the video game, but it was still
No,
it was a life force of its own.
not
Yes, well
exactly,
also
but there were certain things like Ash having to catch a ghost Pokemon to beat Sabrina, that kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah,
That
yeah.
um and using water to defeat Brock, because he makes the sprinklers go off, which makes Brock's Pokemon weak, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, rock type are weak against water. Oh, okay,
yeah.
it was kind of stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Of course there's some shenanigans on the show where some moves just don't work that way. Like I was watching an episode today
Yeah.
where um Ash is battling using Greninja and he tells it to I forgot what move he tells it to use, but he told it to use a move that does nothing in the video games, and and of course it does something to the other person's Pokemon, and they're reeling from it or they're hurt from it physically, and it's just it's kind of funny, but it's like that doesn't happen. Or or Pikachu uses Iron Tail and they clash and they nullify their moves and against Aegislash, and I'm like, that does not, or Hone Edge, I'm sorry, and I just said to myself, I laughed and I just said that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
What are you teaching these kids? They're gonna think their games are broken.
Well, they had to make
Yeah.
the cartoon a little bit more action packed to keep people
Hmm.
interested, obviously.
Yeah. What's going
Yeah,
on with
because
this
like
thing? Well,
wait, what?
anyway. No,
Yeah.
I hear you're shuffling. You're shuffling around.
Oh no, I was just adjusting my chair.
Oh, okay. Well, sit still, damn it. So anyway, so like you said, we got the dub over in the States, 6 a good 6 months to after a good 6 months to a year after they had already
Oh yeah, I guess it
completed
was a
it in
little bit over a
Japan,
year.
and they brought it out to when they shipped it out here, they really did some really great they they pushed it out like clockwork, and just a really they had a really phenomenal series, and this is probably the most successful video game adaptation of all time. I'm sure it is. They have
Yeah.
done
Oh yeah.
more than 1,300 episodes broadcast and adapted. Now there are some episodes that were totally fine in Japan and they got banned in the States
Oh,
just because
yeah.
there was just
So
like cultural issues, which is well,
Uh,
except the
cultural issues, but
Porygon
there
one.
was also the
The
episode
po-
where that was
with the
causing kids to have
Porygon.
seizures.
Yeah, the
yeah,
Yes.
one with Porygon. Welcome to
Yeah.
Battle Seizure Robots.
My favorite, well, it's not favorite, but I think the funniest thing about it's funny now, but it was also a very serious matter. Is just the Porygon episode. The Japanese media did a total blunder with this. They banned the episode. Like the episode caused seizures. They banned the episode, and then there was a news article about there was a broadcast news piece about how the show caused seizures, but they showed clips from the show that ended up causing people to have more seizures.
Oh God. I mean, I shouldn't laugh, but oh my God.
I know it's not funny, but it kind of is, and I have a feeling that The Simpsons kind of spoofed this a little bit because
They absolutely did.
Because when the Simpsons go to Japan, there's the seizure robot show, and Lisa specifically
Yep.
goes, "Oh, this is the show that caused all those seizures," and they all start rolling around on the floor because they're having seizures. And then Homer walks in, and because he's an idiot, the seizures don't affect him at all because there's nothing between the ears, and he just looks at the family instead of calling 911, and he just rolls.
He just rolls around the floor with them.
Honestly, that's one of my favorite Simpsons episodes. Is the Japan
Yeah.
episode.
Back when the Simpsons actually did really good topical humor.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they have their moments now and then, but it's you can only do so much after like 30 plus years on the air. How
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
how do you do stuff that's already how do you do anything when you've done it all? But that's another topic for another
Yeah.
episode. So they they nailed it in Clockwork, but also the voice cast, especially of the original series, the Four Kids era, I guess you should call it, because they like to because it's the English dub is broken up into a few different eras. Um, what most people know it, they usually just put it by whoever owned it at the time, and there's the Four Kids era where of the dubbing studio. There's Four Kids, who is the main one that the three of us know from the original from '97 for the first few years. I want to say like the first 8 to 10 years of it or something like that, and then it got handed over to another studio. I think it might have been Funimation, but I'm not sure. And then and now we kind of have the Netflix era. I'm sure there were a few other studios that I'm blanking on. Um, but most fans of the show, because they were younger, they regard the original series as the best. But they also but Pokemon XY. I think it eventually went back to Four Kids for a little bit, but I'm not sure. Um, People also love X and Y a ton, and that actually has a lot to do with why Greninja showed up as a playable character in Smash Brothers Brawl,
Hmm.
because Ash has such a huge bond with the Greninja, and he almost it's almost he kind of bonds. Some might argue that he bonds a little bit closer with Greninja than he does with Pikachu, but the bond is very different because he's able to Mega Evolve Greninja without a stone. They just have such a shared bond that he basically sees things as Greninja. So they kind of have this weird telepathy link between the two of them. But it's very cool, and you also get to see Ash grow during as all of these phases are. I mean, I think more between the '97 and X and Y. I mean, yes, they changed the voice cast, but Ash's personality gets a little bit hardened. He gets a little bit more selfish in some areas, but he also gets a lot more. He gets more intense, but he's also intentional in his care. So you see Ash get wise from going from a dumb, naive kid who's just got the world in his hand and doesn't really have any patience for anything and just wants it now. And after all these battles, you see him grow up. I mean, you also have a good supporting cast behind him. In the beginning, of course, it's Misty and Brock. And later on, there's a bunch of other characters throughout the series. The weird stuff is just, it kind of gets a little bit weird once they introduce Go, because they obviously tried to sell Pokemon Go in the TV series, but the character Go kind of cheapens it because you're watching the anime and it's like Pokemon Go is its own separate thing. Why are they bringing this in here where you have a trainer who basically cheats, right? I mean, it's not the first time that they threw someone from another Pokemon game in there. Like they did it with the with the Pokemon Snap Kid in an episode or two.
Mm.
But they but when they brought in but they let him just do his thing and he was just still being a photographer. But then when you bring in Go,
Odd.
it's yeah, it is very
Yeah.
strange. It doesn't really mesh. I think the only I don't
Well,
know how many
Todd was kind
episodes
of
they
like
brought him
a
in.
Todd wasn't in like I don't think he became like a regular where he was like following them around. Like he didn't become a member of the party. Basically, he kind of
No,
just
I
like
think
had
he
like
was
little one-off episodes here and there.
yeah, he was more of just like a tie-in guy.
Yeah. There was the other dude that came at was it in Orange Islands? Oh, what was his name?
I don't recall.
I'm not sure. I didn't watch that one. I was watching
Tracy.
maybe they. I'm not sure, but then they eventually sunset Ash, and in the Pokemon Horizon series, it's a whole new everybody. So I, which I get the idea, but I also am a little bit perplexed by why they chose to do that. I understand it's a different region and different everything, but we've been following Ash the whole time. I'm a it's it would it, like, I think it's odd that it's running as the main anime and it's not running off to the side while there's another anime with Ash also running, so almost like a because it feels I know it's a main show, but it feels like more of a spin-off and it's a little it just feels funny to watch it.
They also did a special where that followed Red instead of Ash.
They
And
did.
there was
That
a
was cool. That was very
Poke
cool.
there was a manga series. It was kind of like a limited run manga series, I believe, that was The Electric Tale of Pikachu,
Yes,
which followed
I
Red
I did
also.
have you had those, Sean, didn't you?
Yeah, I did have a handful of those at that one time, and I used to get at Bullpen on Coney Island Avenue.
God, I missed that place.
Yeah.
That that was the old comic book shop. That was our first comic book store in,
Yep.
when we were kids. That was the first and for a long time the only one. And
Mm-hmm.
they ran that place forever. I that's where I got a lot of my Spider-Mans and a good chunk of my spawns,
Mm.
including a spawn number 1. Just a lot of really great memories. Also, the guy hated us because
Well,
we'd ask
the
him stupid questions, and we'd ask him stupid questions, and we'd try to and I always tried to work there, and every week I would ask him for a job, and he would just tell me no. Can't you just work somewhere else? He was a quintessential comic book guy. He was like from The
hmm
Simpsons again. It was pretty funny. And then I remember when they were getting rid of the place, he was in total denial that the place was going that the place was out of business, and he just kept
Ah.
telling everyone he kept telling us that they were relocating, and every time we asked him where are you relocating to, he couldn't give us a straight answer, and he always just get mad, and he would just be like, "We're relocating, okay?" So
For a while, I thought it was by like Brooklyn College, but that was like bulletproof, not bullpen.
yeah, I think a lot of people made like because I don't think Bulletproof was fairly new at the time. So I think that's where the
Yeah.
confusion happened.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't I'm they should still be there, right? Are they still around Bulletproof?
Last I was by Brooklyn College. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been that way in a while, but anyway, we're going on a tangent, but that was my that was every Wednesday. Just go to the comic just go to Bullpen, go to 7-Eleven, get a gigantic slushy, drink it, refill it twice, and then go home all hocked up on sugar and read your comics.
hmm
but yeah, over there they sold a lot of the Pikachu, the Sonic comics, and all that other
Yep,
fun
that
stuff.
was my thing there.
Yep. That's the first time that I ever heard Electric Boogaloo from the Pikachu comic books.
Oh, and like nobody knew that was from a crappy sequel from some movie that nobody cared about in the first place.
Yeah. Huh,
Um, yeah,
but yeah, the manga that follows Red, and they also made the special out of it, which I think that when we first saw that, we thought it was going to be a separate show. But
yeah.
that's one of my favorite things, Pokemon anime things that they ever did.
There was a theory a fan theory that was going around that Red was actually Ash's older brother.
Oh, I heard
Um,
that Red was his
Oh yeah.
father.
no, I had heard that it's his older
Oh.
brother,
Okay.
Hmm.
and basically he went off first and became the Pokemon League champion. And whatever he did his own thing.
That'd be cool.
And then Ash was kind of like the fuck up younger brother who didn't do as well, like because in the first Pokemon series, like the Indigo League, Ash is like he earns his badges, but like he really kind of like bumbles through them all. Like he's not really
Yeah.
that good of a Pokemon trainer. Um, a lot of the times, like I would say at least half of what he does, it's pure luck and not skill.
Yeah, he kind of
Yeah.
bumbled through a lot of things, like you said.
But I think the main point is that Ash kind of like forms a bond with all of his Pokemon that like a lot of the other trainers don't have. Uh, and I think that's kind of more the point is that the whole like stereotypical power of friendship shit that basically that's how like Ash's team is so powerful because he like cares for them so much and doesn't like try to like push them to do crazy shit. But uh he travels through Indigo League, which is the Kanto region. Then there's the Orange Islands, which was the season 2. And then Gold and Silver obviously came out, and so they had to go to Johto, and so they had the Johto League journeys and the Johto League champions and Master Quest. That's pretty much where I stopped watching the anime. Was around like the Johto League arcs. I didn't watch the advanced Pokemon Advance, which is takes place. It's the Gen 3 anime where where they
No,
go to
I think at best maybe I watched it here and there if my little
Hoenn.
brother was watching it and I popped in, but
Yeah, exactly.
wasn't
Like my little brother watched it also growing up, and I might have caught a couple episodes here or there just watching it with him, but I pretty much had stopped watching it by that point. I still played the games. Like Gen 3 Pokemon was really good.
Mhm.
I just lost interest in the anime, mostly because I had grown up a little bit and I was more interested in other anime, like more mature anime by that point. I was watching, Cowboy Bebop and Outlaw Star and stuff like that. Um but
yeah, for me once sorry,
I think
continue.
for our generation, Pokemon was really like the big introduction to
Yeah.
anime for a lot
Oh,
of millennials.
absolutely. Absolutely. Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z was the
Yes.
was the gateway anime for
Yeah.
during
But
our generation. I
especially
mean,
Pokemon because Pokemon was on channel 11 and
yeah,
so if you didn't have cable, you couldn't watch Dragon Ball Z.
you could watch
So
Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Z. You could watch Dragon Ball Z very early in the morning,
oh
but
yeah,
that
yeah.
was it. You could
Yeah.
you had to get up at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
and but otherwise you weren't watching that. Um, you but I know I stopped watching the Pokemon anime around the time that either I was watching it concurrently with Digimon, but then once Yu-Gi-Oh started, I kind of lost interest in Pokemon because I had kind of grown up a little bit, and he was a card game that I actually could play. Where Pokemon, I didn't really understand the rules, and nobody really did. Where Yu-Gi-Oh, everybody kind of picked it up, and the show was a little bit, because it was centered around the card game, it was easier for you to grasp it, which we discussed in the Yu-Gi-Oh episode last
Yeah.
year. But but I moved on to other things at that point. But just like you, Rob, and I'm sure you also, Sean, I stayed playing all the games. I still played every game that came out. Or if I
Yeah.
missed it, and like maybe every couple of years, maybe I wouldn't play some games, but I'd see that more came out, so I would just say, "Oh shoot, I didn't know there were more Pokemon games." So I just went and bought those and played those. So I always stuck with the games,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't always follow the anime. But when I was watching X and Y, that was I actually liked that one a lot. So I don't know. I might just you know I might just pop in every now and then and just watch an episode or two, or just watch an arc, because it is a, the XY I think is probably the best one, and that's the one. And I think Jesse and James are pretty much consistently on the show. Like
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
they're the only real mainstays, but I'm not sure if they're also on Horizons. I guess I'd have to ask my nieces and nephews because they're into it now, and Horizons is theirs for their generation. But they also watch all of the old stuff because you can see everything now.
Mm.
um, so I think we should also mention the movies because
Yes, I
that
was
was
going
Yep.
to
pretty
get to
huge.
that.
So I
Oh
only saw
yeah.
the first three. I saw the first three movies in theaters.
Oh, I only saw the first one in theaters.
I saw
Yeah. Same.
all of the first three movies in theaters. I didn't watch any after that really, but
I don't think I watched any of. I don't think I watched any other Pokemon movies. Now that I think of it, I think I only ever saw the first one.
the cool
And
thing
I
about the
guess
movie,
Detective Pikachu, which doesn't really. That's its own separate thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
the cool thing about the movies is that they featured like the legendary Pokemon of those like respective generations. So Pokemon the first movie, also known as Mewtwo Strikes Back, had Mew and Mewtwo, and at that point Mew was really kind of like I think we had mentioned this in the first episode. Like Mew was like this schoolyard rumor. Like
Yeah.
nobody knew what Mew actually looked like, and there were rumors that you could get Mew in the game and blah blah blah. And then Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back came out, and they're basically like, oh, this is Mew. And I remember it was the coolest thing ever. They gave out the ancient Mew promo card when you went to the movies.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think we had mentioned
I
that
wish that I
also
had
on
that.
the last
I wish
episode.
I still had it, but yes.
Same here.
Um,
I mean,
yeah,
you could get it on the
Yeah.
secondary market and pay like a pretty penny, but
they're
you
not that
know,
they're actually not that worth that much.
like okay, so like $25.
Yeah. Yeah, comparatively to other Pokemon cards that are thousands of dollars, it's not too bad.
Oh, not at all. It might be
Um,
fun just to have it. Maybe I'll get one and just frame it. I don't know.
then, obviously, and then there was Pokemon the movie 2000, which had, the legendary birds plus Lugia from Gen 2, who was the legendary bird from Gen 2. And then you had Pokemon 3 the movie, which was more of Gen 2, and featured Entei and then the Unknown, which were also in Gen 2 in the games. So that was a big thing. I didn't watch. That was like pretty much again where I stopped. I didn't see Pokemon Forever. Um, my brother I think watched that when we were growing up, but I didn't. But the movies were huge, and it was crazy to see an anime movie like that in theater, like have a wide release in theaters. It was like a blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
Pokemon the first movie, I remember when that came out, it was like insane. There was like lines
Hmm.
Yeah,
at the theater to see it. Um
yeah, it did.
and it had like a friggin' like the soundtrack was like all these like pop hits at the time.
Yeah,
It was like
they
a real ass
really,
movie.
yeah, they
Yep.
really spared no expenses with that thing.
Yeah.
But they knew. I mean, also you had the To Be a Master soundtrack, and you had various other like soundtracks that they did with this show because they knew what a because they saw what a cash cow it was, and they just kept having more creative ways to come up with ways to sell this thing. I mean, they had the To Be a Master board game, which actually goes for a pretty decent amount of money. I think it's like you could get that for close to $300. I've seen it go for. I don't know how much it
Oh
is.
man.
And that's like used copies. I don't know how much I've seen. I don't know how much a mint condition one goes, but you know what? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
But just really cool stuff, and it's really just done so much that it's just wild, man. How this little idea just by from Dr. Bog turned into this epic, 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 epic thing.
Yeah.
Here we go. 149. We have pre-owned 150, 179, 190, 99, 175. Yeah, I actually don't. Oh, here he goes. Okay, this guy's out of his bird. $9,499.99
Are you serious?
plus plus 1099 plus 1095 delivery shipping.
Oh my god.
Yes, the listing here. Very rare 2001 new factory sealed Pokemon Master Trainer. Game 4 base set packs. Okay. Oh shit. Wow, that's why. I didn't know it came with 4 base set packs.
Okay. That
All right, that changes
changes
things.
things. Okay.
All right, that's where the money is. All right. Or did he just add the 4 packs? Yeah, featuring new Pokemon from the Gold and Silver edition on there by Milton Bradley. Because suck it, Hasbro and Parker Brothers. Yeah, you know
Oh
what?
man.
Did this come with it? Comes with a custom $200 acrylic case. Okay, no, this guy added shit. Yeah,
Mm,
okay, that's where it is. This guy added stuff. So he's really he wants you to keep it in the case and never play this. That's what this guy wants.
mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he doesn't have a grading on it, but you know, oh wait, but there is it's like so there's Hasbro and Milton Bradley. So Milton Bradley designed the board game, and I guess Hasbro licensed it because Hasbro had the license to Pokemon at the time through Wizards of the Coast, and they fucked it up.
That
And
sounds
then the
about right.
Pokemon,
Yeah.
it tracks. As we've discussed in the Magic the Gathering episode from 2 years ago, if not more. Yes, this show has been running longer than you can imagine. And it hasn't
Yep.
died. Oh, here we go. Complete board game animals themed. I don't know. Some guy tried to do a lot of weird title tags. But yeah, this one is going for 500 or best offer. This is just by itself. I see. So, yeah, 429. All right. So, that one and here's one person who wants it for, you know, 250. No, that's a different one. That's a 2005 Master Trainer. All right. So, the people who are less insane want about $500 for this thing, and then you have this whack job who added value for who wants $10,000. So
Well,
you know, and then if you're just a normal person and you just want to make sure that it comes with all the pieces, but it's used, then you know you could pay around $100 to 200. So it really varies. But I digress. Let's get back to the anime.
Ah,
yeah, so the movies were pretty good. I mean, I remember as a kid like I was like, you know, really into them. Uh I remember they did like a fucking I don't know if it was like a TV movie or like a freaking hour-long special that was kind of like a direct sequel to Me Too Strikes Back. It was like a prequel slash sequel, and
I don't
I
remember
for the
that.
life of me I can't find it anywhere.
I think it was just called. I think it was this. like the
It was like
Mewtwo origin story because I think a
Mewtwo's
lot of it,
Revenge.
yes, because I think that's because there was a lot cut from the original, from the Japanese version of the movie, or there was a lot or that because they reworked the plot for American audiences to include, the power of love and friendship saves the day, and that fighting is bad, even though the whole franchise is about fighting. So you make sense of that, I guess. It was probably just has to do with America being, you know, trying to shove a life lesson into everything whether it needs to be there or not, and also very on brand for America for having a double standard of saying, "Well, kids, fighting is bad unless you're fighting for money."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find. Hold on, let me see if I can.
I think that I think that that's what you're talking about, and had more of Mewtwo's origin story in there, and it shows
But
what
there was
Mewtwo went
it also
through.
it was kind of like a sequel too. I'm gonna look for it. Hold on. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, it was a weird hodgepodge where it was an extended first act, and then it was a pseudo sequel also. I don't know if it was kind of a jump cut of the movie itself too. I'm not sure, but I do remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm gonna look. Pokemon Mewtwo Returns. It was a TV special,
Okay.
and it was like direct to video in the United States. So
Huh.
it is a direct sequel. They have flashbacks to like Mewtwo's origins, but
Hmm.
also it's Mewtwo trying to like just like live peacefully, and then Team Rocket comes after him again, basically.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the tragic anti-hero.
yeah.
What if Marvel made a really gritty version of Mewtwo and he was basically the Punisher with psychic powers?
Oh my god.
I don't know how that would go.
That's the movie I want to see. I want that. This should be Pokemon the last movie, and it's just Mewtwo just fucking destroying the universe, and he just blows up everything. At the end of the movie, it's just him and nothingness, and it's just him in space, and he just wanders off to other galaxies to try to find some kind of peace after destroying the Earth. I feel like that would be a fitting end to the entire franchise.
I remember so obviously I was like into Pokemon first and then later got into Dragon Ball Z. And I remember like all the kids thought like Frieza was based on on Mewtwo and didn't realize it was the other way around because Dragon Ball like Z came out way before Pokemon did. So we're always like, oh, Frieza is just Mewtwo, like they just copied Mewtwo or whatever. And it's like, no, Mewtwo they copied Frieza for.
That's funny. Oh, I know I texted this to you guys, but in the last episode, we discussed the Pokemon. We discussed the Pokemon that the Pokemon mod game that we would have loved to have Pokemon Cats and Dogs, where
Oh yeah.
basically you have to fight various um hip hop and music figures in the Pokemon world, and you also have to, and your rival is Michael Vick. Well, we never mentioned who the professor is. The professor, of course,
Bless
needs
you.
to be Professor Pitbull, and it just opens up with just Dale, welcome to the world of Pokemon. I'm Professor Pitbull, and that's that. So anybody who wants the bookend to that one, now you have a beginning and stuff.
So there was a remake to Pokemon the first movie also, which was Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution. It was like a CGI remake.
Hmm.
Oh no,
I never knew that.
Yeah,
that
it
sounds questionable.
it did come out in America. It's like a shot for shot remake of basically of the first movie.
But CGI,
Yes.
interesting. I do like the Pokemon National Geographic thing that they have for Netflix. That's kind of cool. It's
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't see that.
I forgot what it's called, but it's very short. They're all a few minutes. They just have a little like David Attenborough vibe to them, and it's all in like really good CGI, and it's kind of fun. It's one of those things that if you can't sleep, you could kind of just put it on you could just put it on, and you don't even really have to watch it all that much. You could just kind of put it on in the background, and it'll just help you fall asleep.
Yeah,
But it's pretty fun. I think it's
that's
called
cool.
Pokemon Chronicles or
Yeah.
something like that. I don't remember.
I don't really remember that.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Oh, it was on Netflix. That explains why I don't have Netflix.
Yeah, okay. It's just part of this odd Netflix age of Pokemon where they kind of just do a bunch of stuff with it, and then they also produce their part of the anime.
Yeah. So there was also of course Detective Pikachu. I didn't see Detective Pikachu, but I heard it was really good.
I actually wouldn't mind watching that movie again. It is really fun.
Yeah. There's been rumors that Nintendo's trying to set up almost like a MCU esque kind of thing with their IPs.
Oh
Uh,
no.
Starting
I have
obviously, like Detective Pikachu started it, but then they also have the Super Mario Brothers movie and the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which also has Star Fox in it. So
yes.
and they're making a Legend of Zelda movie as well. So
Hmm.
Yep.
I
Well,
mean, like, isn't like
The Mario movie has a few Smash Brothers characters in there too. Like it has
yeah,
Rob the Robot and it has there's a few others that are just kind of sprinkled in.
yeah, but like, isn't like Smash basically like the Nintendo MCU by itself?
yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
The Subspace Emissary kind of like established this whole storyline of like them crossing over universes and stuff and coming together
Yeah.
to fight this like great evil.
Yep. Honestly, I'm
And
really
and
excited.
then they continued
I
that with Smash Ultimate with the story mode in that as well.
Yeah, honestly, I really just want to see the Kirby movie when it eventually comes out. I want a Kirby movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
I
forgot
think
about that
Star
Kirby
Fox.
anime.
Oh yeah, yeah, the Kirby anime is
Yes.
fun. Um, I would actually like to see Star Fox as an anime, like the way that they told the backstory in the movie. If they
Yeah.
did a show
Yeah.
like that, it would be really kick ass. I think Star Fox works better as a show than a movie.
Yeah.
Kirby Kirby might also work better as a show, but I think you can make Kirby into a fun, cute movie for kids.
Yeah.
But I think Star Fox works better as a show, like a good,
Yeah.
you know, grittier noir kind of show.
Yeah, because like with Kirby, you can only really get so far with Kirby only seeing like "hi" and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember if Kirby actually ever actually talked in that anime, but I have to check that out later.
I
Yeah.
can't remember. I don't think Kirby did, but I'm not sure. And then, of course, you have
Yeah.
the abysmal Donkey Kong show that we talked about here.
That was
Oh
cursed.
yeah. I actually liked how bad it was.
It is cringe. It is really funny cringe. But oh my god, that never held up, and I think it became YouTube poop fodder.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
it did.
Yeah. Well,
It's
anyway,
it's interesting how Nintendo has like an interesting track record with adaptions of their IPs. Like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, I feel like was pretty successful.
Yeah.
Um, it was kind of corny and campy, but that was like the era of cartoons.
Yeah.
Uh, but like like the Legend of Zelda cartoon is really kind of cringy.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
It wasn't that good at all.
no,
Um, but like again, Pokemon's super successful. And
mhm,
it's like you got to wonder, and even like in film, Nintendo's had a lot of success with these new Super Mario Brothers movies, but lest we forget the Super Mario Brothers starring fucking uh
John Leguizamo,
John
Bob
Leguizamo.
Hoskins,
Zamo and Bill Hoskins,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
and poor Dennis Hopper,
And
who
Dennis Hopper
Oh,
as Bowser.
just pulled the shortest straw for that movie.
oh, and if the rumor's correct, John and Bob, they were drunk the entire time they were filming.
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, I could
Apparently they
understand.
drank every single day and showed up to the set drunk every day.
I could understand why.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
So
like
I mean,
still like kind of weird.
Nintendo's definitely come a long way, though, in terms of adaptions of their games on film. And obviously Pokemon kind of became its own thing and was like successful on its own. I don't think it would have mattered if it was Nintendo or not, because Pokemon was its like own phenomenon, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also because they just took they took such good care of it in Japan, and
Yeah.
I'm sure the original team, like the original creators and artists were so I'm sure that they were very hands on with everything, and they probably, like, even if they weren't actively producing the show, I'm sure they had some kind of final say in everything.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they were. I would be surprised if they weren't on the show as in a consulting basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what else we could really add to this besides
Yeah.
this is possibly the greatest IP of all time,
It's
and it
well,
stood
I mean,
30.
Pokemon is often considered part of the big three of anime,
Mm-hmm.
which, DBZ, Pokemon, and Naruto.
Yeah.
Sometimes Bleach is thrown in there, but Pokemon is definitely in that top 5 anime of all time, especially in terms of bringing anime to the Western audience. Because I think before Pokemon, anime was kind of like it's this obscure thing that it was in the West and it was popular in the West, but it was very niche. And Pokemon really made it mainstream. Like Pokemon was probably the first big mainstream anime, except maybe DBZ. Um, but Pokemon even more so than DBZ, because Pokemon like brought anime to kids that would have never watched anime. Kids watched Pokemon just because it was Pokemon, not because it was an anime necessarily. And so many kids that never had watched anime before were introduced to anime because of it.
Oh,
So
for sure.
it
I
really
mean,
it
they
really is
even
a
have Lego.
phenomenon.
I mean, they even have Lego sets now, and they're
Yes.
overpriced, but they're cool Lego sets.
Well, every Lego set is overpriced.
It really is. Sadly, it's not made
Yeah.
for kids much anymore.
No.
They know where their bread is buttered. We've discussed
Yeah.
this on the Lego episode from
Yeah.
several years ago.
Shit.
But man, just there's no other word to describe Pokemon other than phenomenon. And here we are
Yes.
30
Yeah.
years later. It's just
30
it's
years later, still talking
it's
about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Shit.
it's unreal that this basically came from the idea of someone who loved collecting bugs as a kid and wanted to still kind of collect bugs.
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, and I feel like the popularity of Pokemon has waxed and waned over the years, depending on
Of course.
generation, and uh, but it's never gone away. It's always
Yeah.
been there, and it's one of the most enduring franchises in media. Period.
Yeah.
There's very few uh media franchises that really are as ubiquitous and widespread as Pokemon, and as long lasting. We named a couple in this episode. Simpsons, you could say, is one of them. Uh Dragon Ball Z, but I don't know. Pokemon is just something special between the video games and the TV show, the movies, the trading card game. It's just it's something it's so beyond what anything else really ever accomplished.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. Well, I guess it's time for us to ride out into the sunset then. We want to thank each and every one of you for checking this show out and just listening to us ramble for the last hour, maybe 2 hours plus if you listen to the first part first. Thanks. It's really cool. It really means a lot, and I hope that you enjoy Pokemon as much as we do. Share your favorite Pokemon game, show, movie, or memory in any of the comments if you're going to be on YouTube. And if you happen to be on YouTube, just subscribe to the show. You don't have to hit the stupid bell. You just hit the subscribe button and you can forget about us. We just need the numbers. We don't really need to do anything else. And if you want to give us money, then go right ahead and hit one of those links and send us some money. That would be good. Otherwise, I don't know. I'm Chris, and welcome to the
And,
wonderful world of Pokemon. I'm not a professor.
and I'm Rob.
And I'm Shaun. Happy to be here.
All right, and remember, question everything.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.